Well, hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Ex-Homeschoolers Club. I am, of course, your host, Jacob Gooden, back again with my wonderful, lovely friend, Annanlee. We were just talking about how we have known each other for going on 12 years at this point. We've been trying to kind of backtrack and figure out, some things. But we're going to continue to discuss it while we're recording. So, Annanlee, welcome to the show. It's great to have you.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here.
Like I said, we've known each other for like 12-ish years.
Yeah.
We met for Mrs. Yip's writing class, so shout out Mrs. Yip. And I think we did 2 years of that class together,
Yeah,
maybe.
it must have been 2 years. I went to public school after that, so don't tell anybody, but yeah, I think I left.
We'll get into that. We'll get into that. You went to the dark side.
I did.
But so I before Mrs. Yip's class, I don't remember you from any homeschool anything. And that's not to say maybe our paths had crossed before that, but give me the breakdown of like being a homeschool kid. How long were you homeschooled? You just said you went to public school for some of it. Like give me the rundown.
Yeah, so I went to a private elementary school, which is it was like a Waldorf elementary school, which is kind of, it's tangential to homeschooling. They like focus on liberal arts. Um, and I kind of hated that school. And so at fifth grade, I think it must have been fifth grade, I started homeschooling. My mom hated public schools. So she was just like, we're going to do anything but put you in public school. So homeschooled from fifth grade through sophomore year of high school. Um, I think homeschooling's so different now, but it's kind of like an antiquated term because I think like homeschooling doesn't mean you're at home all the time, which I think is a huge, I don't know, misconception about it. Um, but yeah, I was homeschooled through sophomore year, and then I wrote my parents a letter, and I was like, I would like to go to public school. So I went to public school for 2 years at the end of high school, and that was kind of insane, but I'm glad that I did that in the end, I think. It's a good experience.
Yeah. So, okay, first of all, why a letter? And then and then secondly, what was that change like? Was it I mean, you like you said, you'd already kind of gone to some private public school kind of
Yeah.
environment before. You'd been in a classroom before. But yeah,
Yeah.
okay, letter and then what was the shift like?
I wrote a letter because I don't particularly love talking in
Find that
most
hard to
environments.
believe.
In most environments. Hey, it's on you for having me on this show, okay? But yeah, I wrote them a letter because I think I wanted to like have a very concise way of explaining why I wanted to go to public school. And my dad was always pro public school, and so it was really just kind of for my mom. But I think the letter just I don't even remember now, but I think it just kind of said that like I was writing a lot when I was 13 or 14, and I was like, I can't write about high school experiences because I don't even know what a locker room looks like. I don't know what walking down the hallway looks like. I don't know what having 5 minutes before class looks like. Um, and so I felt like that was just really lacking. And all of my friends went to like the high school by my house, and I was like, I know people, it's not going to be a big deal. So yeah, the transition was it was a lot. There's a lot of busy work in high school that you don't have in homeschooling. And I think that's kind of that's the main draw to homeschooling as an idea, I think, for me. Um, but I think it was great because you're around a lot of people. And in homeschooling, you're around some people, but in my experience, like it was from a lot of different areas. So it'd be like, it was like you in that class was like a specific English class clique. And then there was like a different clique I had for like a science class, and a different group I had for like an outdoors class, and a different like extracurricular group. And so it was just too much for me. I was like, I just need like a consolidated um, friend group, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. That's an interesting way to put it. But also, I think you're different from the other guests that I've had on so far because most of the guests I've had on so far, we all lived in Ventura, Ojai area.
Yeah.
You did not live in that area, and
Yeah.
so yeah, like you were
So
separate
far.
from a lot of that group because because
Segregation.
yeah, and like I mean, you slowly became integrated. I mean, especially you were friends with me, Emily, and
Yeah.
Colin. But you know, and I know you started coming to like the dances and stuff like that. But yeah, I remember like
Yes.
if we wanted to go to something you were doing, we had to go quite a ways. To Thousand
Yeah.
Oaks,
Oh
Camarillo.
my God, that's right.
Um,
You kind of went to a choir concert or something of mine. That's crazy. I forgot
yes,
about
we
that.
did. Yeah, yeah. Emily was like, "We're
Embarrassing.
gonna go do this. We're gonna go support her." And we
And she's
went.
like, "You're driving."
Yeah, yeah, that too. She's like, "Yeah, Jacob, you're gonna come pick us all up, and we're gonna go do this thing." So, and we made it happen. But Mrs. Yip was there too. Shout out to Mrs.
She
Yip once
was.
again. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I guess the question, and you might not know the answer to this, but like, how did you get tied into like Mrs. Yip's writing class then? Because
I honestly, I think my mom must have known someone in another class or heard about her through someone else. Um, and I remember not wanting to go to that class because I'd heard that Mrs. Yip was kind of strict or scary about like grammar. I mean, we had a banned list of words, right? And that list of words is still in my head to this day. So I was scared to go to that class. I like didn't want
yeah,
to be forced into a classroom. But I mean, I think it was great. I mean, we're still friends, so
yeah,
got something
something
out of
worked
it.
out. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's funny because yeah, Mrs. Yip's class was so interesting because it was like it was a mix of like all kinds of different writing. Like I remember doing creative writing. I remember doing essay writing. That was very like researched. That was very researched. Wikipedia researched.
Yeah,
On
it's
my end.
true. It's
But
true.
yeah, the banned words list was always really interesting. It was all words that we couldn't use
Crazy.
in our papers. We got dinged points for that. Um, the sentence openers, that was a worksheet that was like fantastic for me
That's
because you
right.
know when you
Yeah.
write so much, it's like if you don't know what you're doing, your sentences all start to sound the same, right? It's like I this, he that, you know, and they all kind of start in a similar pattern. And so learning like, oh, okay, here's how to start with this, and here's like how to pose a question, and here's like all those different things was super interesting. It was something I used in college
Yeah.
too. I don't know about you,
Yeah,
but like I had that sheet just
absolutely.
like plastered in my dorm room.
Like a printout.
Yeah, no, seriously. I like had it taped to my dorm room or on my desk or something.
It's
Uh,
funny.
and I used it for all kinds of stuff. And yeah, and it I mean came in so clutch. I had to write like a law paper at one point for
Yeah.
entertainment industry, and that was like, you know, it was my paper was more interesting than something else. I mean, it was still boring. It's a law paper, but I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I gotta fit in all this stuff that has been taught. You know, um, I don't know, but what a great way to meet.
I
Obviously,
know
we
that class
became
was so
friends.
fun.
It
Yeah.
was, yeah, and yeah, that was. I feel like you and I didn't really get along at the beginning. Um,
I don't remember that.
I
That's
don't know.
possible. I mean, I
I
didn't
don't
get along
know.
with anyone. I'm a
I
picky
feel like we just kind
person.
of poked each other's buttons a little bit. We just knew how to kind of.
Like intentionally though. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
From a place of love.
Yeah. Totally.
Um, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, you slowly. It was cool that I mean, you became obviously we had a friend group from that class, and then we ended
Yeah.
up like doing stuff together and hanging out, and you started coming to the dances, even though you would
Those
tell us how cringy
dances.
they were.
It's crazy that that was even those existed at all. I mean, I mean, ballroom dancing is one thing, but like getting that many people together in one room to ballroom dance is crazy.
I'm interested because like I said, you were kind of an outsider to that group. So like we all knew each other very like a lot
Yeah.
of us had grown up together. So like was it just really I don't know, did it feel like, oh my gosh, these are the weirdo homeschool kids that like I like or was it like I don't know, like what was that like, I guess?
I mean, I think when you homeschool and it depends on how your parents did it, but like I think you learn how to code switch a lot. And I mean, I think that's one of the things that I learned that I still use, obviously, to this day, would be like code switching between groups of people and like how you're interacting or talking with those groups of people. So I never thought that anybody was super weird, but I think that I probably then like, pulled the lever of like, I'm going to be weirder when I'm with them, or I'm going to be more homeschooled, or I'm going to be more into ballroom dancing. I was always into ballroom dancing actually, but I mean, ballroom dancing in a group of people like that was insane. Um, so I don't know. I mean, I didn't think you guys are weird. I mean, I'm pretty weird though, so my judgment is not great.
We were weird. You're being nice, but we
Probably
were
still are
weirdos.
weird, you never
No,
know.
yeah, no, 100%. So okay, so you homeschooled through sophomore year, going into high school, junior year, senior year, mainly for kind of like that experience because you were like you said in your letter you were like I need to understand what it's like to have a locker and be in a locker room, and, and all that kind of stuff. But
Crazy.
what came after high school? Was it college immediately? Did you take some time off? Like, you know?
I went straight into college.
Okay.
Yeah, it was school for so many years. I mean, 17 years I straight. Um, and every time I've had a break, I've realized that like there's so many other things outside of school. And it's crazy to think that we're both kind of, adults, so to speak, now. But it's weird to think that we're adults, like, and to think that it was 15 years ago ish that like I was homeschooled. Like, I don't even, homeschooling isn't even a big part of my it's a big part of my identity, but it's not a big part of my elevator pitch. Like when I meet people, like, do you still list off like that you were homeschooled when you're like laundry listing things you've done in your life?
Not really. I mean, it's sometimes part of like it depends on the situation, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But it's yeah, it's like one of those things where it depends on the situation, honestly. If I'm meeting somebody who is like in a homeschool group, obviously it's like, yeah, okay, I'm
Right.
gonna bring up that I was also a homeschool kid. But yeah, if I'm networking at an event or something like that, it's not my go-to like, oh, I
Yeah,
was a
no,
homeschool kid. It's not part of my
of
identity.
course
I'm not
not.
ashamed of it in any way, but I'm like,
Yeah,
I go more towards that. Like, I'm a podcast editor. I'm a producer. I'm a creator.
yeah,
I'm this. I'm a
of
that.
course.
I manage these types of things, right? That's more in line with like who I identify as currently. Um, no, that's an interesting question because yeah, I do. I mean, doing the show now, I'm kind of putting it more forward that
Yeah,
it's like, hey, this is a big part of who I was. Um, but yeah, but this show was started mostly from the selfish standpoint of I want to know what all of my friends are doing today because I think a lot of them are doing really cool stuff. Um,
yeah,
and I just want to talk to them about it and hear about it. And then in the process also reminisce about some stuff and then hear about their homeschool journey. Like we were talking about, it's like I didn't really know that you went to school, then you were homeschooled, then you went back to school and then on to college. It's like I didn't even know that because I knew you during the homeschool years. That's about it.
yeah. They're eras. Yeah, they're very
Yeah.
distinct eras. Like if we had an eras tour, it'd be like super distinct by school.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So, okay. So 7 years in college. Wait, no, 5 years in college. Five
5
years in
years.
college. You said 17 years of school in total.
Yeah.
So 5 years of college. Was that just a bachelor's degree or did you end up doing like a master's doctorate
I
type of
did
thing?
I did a master's. So I did 4 years of my undergrad and then a year abroad, but it was during COVID, so it was not really abroad for my master's. And that was just like, I mean, it was an English lit, so it's not, I wouldn't say I'm like a master at anything. I was just reading a lot and writing a lot. But yeah, I mean, it was nice during COVID because like what else was I gonna do anyway?
Yeah, exactly. The world shut down. It's like, yeah, what do you
Might as well read and
might as
get
well
also a
read, might as well
degree
write.
for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's so did you get your undergrad in English as well?
Yeah, I double majored in English lit and public relations. So like English
Okay.
lit was like what I would have preferred to do only, but like public relations was like the practical, I can get a job with this
Right.
application. So yeah, but it's all
No.
writing. Yeah.
No, exactly. And no, and you have to have that good you have to have the good combo of both, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, I recently met a PR person that works with one of my clients and we met a while back and she's very good at what she does. And
Yeah.
we sat down and I was just like asking her, I was like, well, what do you do? Like, kind of a thing. Like,
She's like,
what is your
I
job? And
don't
like, how do you get your
know.
job? And like all this stuff. And she's like, well, you have to have a really good understanding of writing. And I was like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
out. But I was like, that's awesome. Like, you know, I'm not, I don't write. That's not my thing. That's not my specialty. Sorry, Mrs. Yip. I gave up on writing a long time ago. But yeah. Anyway, but okay, so PR and English, and then we were talking. You kind of did some like brand strategy, marketing type stuff after that, um,
Yeah.
for career
Yeah.
wise. But like, yeah. So tell me a little bit about that and like, what did that entail and what that look like?
I mean, right out of college, I got a job at a brand strategy agency. And branding is, I mean, people always ask me what it is because they think it's like the Kardashians. But branding, corporate branding more is like the step before marketing. So we would be writing like how I would be writing, how you communicate as a brand, what you should say, and how you should like change what you say depending on the audience. So that was just very strategic writing. And I think it came pretty naturally after PR because most of the PR stuff that I learned in internships or at school was pretty much strategic communication. So I mean I love branding. Most of the work I do now for freelance is like copywriting, which is less interesting sometimes because it's less strategic, where it's less of like the part of a brand that stays there forever because it could be like a social media post or a blog post or whatever. So, but I don't know. I mean, all of it's strategic. I think writing is very strategy driven. And I think strategy is also very writing driven because if you can't write it, you're not going to be able to really say it. Um,
Right.
yeah, a lot of writing, always a lot of
Yeah.
writing.
No, that's super cool because like I've worked with a couple brands now who some have successfully launched and they tend to
Yeah,
have that element of like coming up with the strategy behind the wording and the
yeah,
vision and all of those things. And then I've worked with some other brands who are just kind of like fly by the seat of their pants and they're like, we'll figure it out as we go. And
it's so
6 months down the
bad.
line, we're like screwed. You
Yeah,
know,
it's so
um,
inconsistent.
exactly. So, yeah. So for those listening, if you are thinking about starting a brand, either hire Annanlee or invest in some good
Please hire me.
branding PR people, to help you kind of create that strategy around your brand because
Yeah,
it will take you a lot farther than you think. It also makes it easier when people like me come in who my job is more on the production side of like
yeah,
creating a podcast or creating social content or something like that. It's a lot easier when you already have that guide, those guidelines of like, this is how we
yeah.
write, this is the style, all that kind of thing. Because otherwise, I'm winging it and I'm doing it in my own voice, and that's not in line
It's
with what your
crazy.
brand is. Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Back
So
to
we talked about
homeschooling.
no, that's I love chatting about this stuff. I honestly like this is about 50% of the conversations I have with people at this point
Good.
are around this type of stuff where it's like we got to sit down and strategize and like I am not the PR person to go to, but you know, you pick up things as you go along the lines. It's like I've been doing this for
Yeah.
5 years now. It's like you kind of pick up what works and what doesn't work at some point. And so um, it's just been yeah, it's just an interesting thing where you just kind of I don't know. I don't know if you ever have this with a client where you can sit down and you're just like you get it and it's very clear like what you want and how we can get you
Yeah.
there. And other people you're like this is going to be work to get you to that point.
Yeah, it's crazy. When that happens, you're kind of, it's like meeting someone and you're like, I don't understand you at all. Like, I don't even understand on surface level, like what you are. And then you get to know them and you're like, you don't know either. This is really annoying. Like, what am I supposed to do with this? How are we supposed to be friends? What do we have in common? Like, nothing, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's funny. So in college, I majored in music business, so entertainment
Yes.
business. My goal was to manage bands, manage creatives, which is kind of weirdly
Yeah.
what I do now, anyways. It's just not with musicians; it's with podcasters. But what was crazy was working with musicians. You realized, I mean, these people are like, I was gonna name my brand like Head in the Clouds Studios or Head in the Clouds
So
something
good.
because it was just like
Yeah.
these people who their head was in the clouds and they just like they are the idea they suffer from like shiny object syndrome, right, where it's like they see this
Yeah.
thing and they're like go 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 go, that's the thing, and they pull it towards them, right, and then they get bored of it and then the next thing comes along and they go over here and it's like we have to hone you in, we have to figure out how to do that. And so
It's hard.
um it's people like you who really can help with that because yeah, just oh my god, like dealing with those people is insane sometimes. You're like,
I
yeah, I don't
know.
know. I've
You
gotten
just
off
have
a
to
couple calls
yell.
or out of meetings. Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, where's a pillow? I'm gonna scream into it.
Better the pillow than like at them. So
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, no, you got to learn to. It takes a special person sometimes to handle
I
creative
know.
people, and create the systematized steps. Basically, I tell people I'm like, your
Yeah.
job is to be creative, and my job is to give you the framework to do it inside of. And
Frameworks
if
are
we can,
important.
yeah, and if we can get there, you're set. You're gonna do really well. Um,
Yeah.
so very cool. Well, okay. So we've talked business,
Great.
and we talked some homeschooling. Um, I have been just like the last couple days in prepping for you to come on the show. Been like reminiscing about I don't know, just things we did and like adventures we went on and things like that. And the one that always comes to my brain is the photo shoot in your backyard at the beach, where you and Emily, you guys clearly knew what kind of you were doing when it came to taking photos, and Colin and I had no freaking clue what we were doing. Um,
Some of those
so
photos are hilarious to this day.
yes, and they're going to get posted. Some of them, as of recording this, some of them
Fantastic.
did get posted today with Emily's episode, but more of them are going to get posted when this episode comes out as well because they're
They're
just
too good.
hilarious.
Yeah,
And
they're too good.
yeah, I know you and Emily were really into photography. Are you still into photography? Is that a big part of the stuff done?
I mean, I was yes. I think the reason I like photography is one, it's very creative. It's great. All the
Yeah.
reasons someone likes photography. I think the other reason is I hate being photographed. And so the best way to not be photographed is to literally pull out a camera and be like, I'm taking a picture of you. And like, so sorry, but like, I'm not going to be in the picture. So yeah, I mean, I still take a ton of photos to this day. My camera roll is a mess. I was the vice president of USC's photo club in college, which is
Ooh.
a really random flex and very nerdy. But yeah, but again, that was all about like being behind the camera, so I don't have to be in front of it. I mean, you know, who likes being in front of the camera?
Some people.
I know
I'm with
some
you
people.
though. I'm with
It's the
you.
creatives.
I
Yeah.
think why
Well,
you and
yeah,
I get along so well is we are cut from a similar cloth of like
yeah,
I hate to say we're behind the scenes people, but we kind of are the behind the scenes
yeah,
people that make the world turn.
yeah.
Not
We
to
make
toot our own
things
horns,
work.
but
Come on,
yeah, exactly.
we're
We
logical.
are
We're great.
exactly. Um, so that's funny to hear that. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't like being on camera. The fact that I'm doing this podcast now, I mean, it's been
I know. Why couldn't it just be audio? I mean,
yeah. Why?
not to roast your format
Even
here,
that.
but
I bought a microphone for this podcast to start a podcast in 2017, 2018,
it's a long
2017.
time.
I bought a podcast, never used it, sat in the corner, didn't ever get used for years and years and years, have like prepped podcasts to go out like up to the point of recording. And then it's
Yeah,
just like never happened. And it's always been imposter syndrome that stopped me from doing it. And,
yeah.
yeah, and then I finally hit publish, and here we are. You know,
It's fun though. I feel
making it
like doing
happen.
that's
So
fun. Yeah. Forcing yourself to
exactly,
be in front of the camera and stuff.
Ex-
It's good.
exactly. It's like yeah, kind of putting a switch on it because you know what it takes to be on the other side of the camera, right? You know what it
Yeah,
actually
so it
takes.
should be easy.
Exactly. Theoretically, it should be easy
Theoretically.
because you're like, I know what goes into it. I know the headspace I have to be in, but it
Yeah,
like, oh my god, it's so much harder than
it's so
I
hard.
ever thought it would be. So, yeah. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but was okay. Are there any homeschool stories that, as you've been kind of thinking about, has anything popped in your brain lately of like, oh my gosh, I forgot about this, I blacked this out, story wise, of just things that happened when you were a homeschool kid?
Oh, I mean, there's so many things. I'm trying to think of one that has to do with you. Um, I don't know, a lot of the memories I have of like you and Emily and Colin are just like hanging out, and we're all in a big group. And then I felt like all of my interactions were still centered around like you, Emily, and Colin. Like I can remember specific incidents of like looking at Emily and knowing we're thinking the same thing about nobody else in the room but the four of us. Like
Yeah.
it was like a weird little click within a click, and I have no idea why it was like that. And it still feels like that to this day. Like when I see Emily, we talk about like Mrs. Yip's class. It's always just about the four of us. And then we can't
Yeah.
remember the names of anybody else in class, which is
Same.
insane.
No, same.
Yeah,
I like legitimately, yeah, no clue who anybody else was in that class,
it's crazy.
besides the four of us. So I don't know what that is. That's yeah, yeah. I was something that came to mind recently was, and I want to say you were there. I believe it was Colin's birthday, and we went to the Summers house, and they rented. We went
Oh
on a
my God.
scavenger hunt. Do you remember this?
I don't remember the scavenger hunt, but now I remember the party. Like you
Okay.
you unearthed it.
Yeah. So okay. So here's what I remember, and Colin's got to come on the show at some point because maybe he could set
Yeah.
this all straight if I've got it crooked. Um, what I remember is going to the Summers house. It was a surprise party for Colin. He shows up, and then they
Yes.
ended up surprising all the rest of us by being like, "We're going on a scavenger hunt, and there's a limo parked outside." We were like, "Okay," and it was just that. It was a giant scavenger hunt. We jumped in a limo. We drove all around Ventura, went to the beach. We went downtown Ventura. We went like I'm trying to even remember where else, but yeah, basically we drove around for hours on end doing this scavenger hunt thing for Colin's birthday, and yeah, and I remember there being a good number of people there. But yeah, just another one of those like I wouldn't say that's exclusively like a homeschool kid story. That's obviously like just a birthday party that anybody could have, uh, but all of the people there were homeschool kids.
Yeah.
So
Dang. I don't remember there being a limo. I remembered the party. I don't remember there being a limo. That's
maybe there wasn't a
crazy.
limo. I don't know. I mean,
That's a
Colin,
pretty
you got to
big
come on
thing
and
to
set
make up.
this. Come set
He'll
the
like
record
dredge
straight,
up the
Colin.
photos. He'll be like, here's you in a limo. It's like
Yeah.
obviously photoshopped. Yeah,
No,
crazy.
for sure. But oh, man, I don't know. I agree with you that it's hard to think of one instance because I feel like a lot of my memories with you guys are just like you said. There are events that there was a lot of people there, but for whatever
Yeah,
reason, they're just centered around the four of us. And I don't know. I don't know what that is about that, but
yeah,
I don't know. Some kind of special connection, I guess.
yeah. Between the four of us, crazy.
um,
Yeah.
okay, so one of the things we were talking about before we hit
Yes.
record was Mrs. Yip's class, and you told me that you dug up a poem that supposedly is written about me.
Yeah, so I mean, you know what? I think we were in the phase of class where we were writing poem parodies. So it's supposed to be like structured the same as another poem. What's crazy is I don't remember the original poem that I based it on, but I feel like I had a dream not about you, but about a situation, and then I just applied it to the poem. And then for some reason, the individual in the poem, and I can read it, but the individual in the poem like became you. Um, so it's titled The Heart and the Hat, and it goes, he shot his heart into the air. It fell to earth into a girl's hair. For so horrible his aim, its flight ended up nowhere near his heart's delight. The wind whisked his hat into the air. He cursed and swore and ran as fast as he dared, for his legs and feet could barely beat the rapid whisk that the wind did fleet. Super wordy. A short time afterward, with much of a plight, he found the hat with his heart's delight. But now his heart, present no more, couldn't help, and he could only abhor. No idea.
It's a mystery.
It's absurd. I don't even like who was I talking about? It was definitely your hat though. That's the only thing I remember. It was like a hat that you used to wear in class.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I've pretty
Yeah.
much always been a hat boy, so
Yeah,
that
the
makes
hat and the
sense.
red pants. I mean, those are
Yeah,
your
exactly.
two iconic things.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, I'm much more basic now. Yeah, much more neutral
So
colors.
lame.
But
So boring.
when you read the first line of that, it reminded me. There's a poem that is like he shot an arrow
His
into the
arrow.
sky.
Yes, it's that
Yeah,
one.
and I
Yeah.
don't know what that poem is called, but that's what it reminded me of. So
Yeah. That's what
I,
it's about.
but I agree with you. I think I do remember that being a thing where she was like, okay, yeah, you're gonna take a famous, not even a famous poem, just a poem and recreate it in
Yeah.
whatever,
Or
you know,
memorize it,
or
which
memorize it
is
or yeah, something.
we memorize poems every week. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love Mrs. Yip for pushing us to do poetry, and I took another writing
Yeah.
class with somebody else that they also pushed us to do poetry as well, and that was always like, um, I don't know, it's hard. It's not like I'm not good at it. I'm not a good writer, but I don't know. Just poetry is really it's really beautiful to me. So
Yeah. It's good to appreciate it even if you can't do it.
so what is next for Annanlee? Like what is next on the docket as far as adventures go, as far as life goes? Um, I know you travel quite a bit, or so it seems. So it seems you travel quite a bit,
So it seems on
and have
social media.
yes, and have been to many beautiful, wonderful places. But is there anything exciting coming down the pipeline?
I mean, I've been freelancing a lot, so I think professionally at least, I think some sort of like longer term goal, and I was talking about this with some of my designer friends because again, I'm not like visually super creative, but words and visuals. But it'd be great to open like a small like brand, like creative brand studio, something like that. I think I mean, it's like you said, like I think I have a big interest in like frameworks and infrastructure of like how the internal things work and how that can like really affect the external elements of something. So I think owning a company or like not managing other people because that sounds weird, but like owning the workflow of how certain systems are organized would be really fun for me. So I've been looking into that a lot. I think it'd be really interesting to create some sort of agency or studio that really bridges a divide that I think there is between like freelancers and agencies. Like I think if you're paying so much for a world class agency or paying not very much for a freelancer, there's got to be an in between for someone who's like a middle sized like middle revenue company.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been doing some market research, but that's about it.
No, that's super cool. Where do you think your like interest, love came for like the words and like the frame finding the frame? Where do you think that like came from? Like, do you think that you've had that for a while from being a little kid, or is it something that like you just kind of like I took one class and it just like it hooked me. It just solidified that it was like this is the thing.
I mean, I don't know. I've always enjoyed writing. I've always enjoyed reading. I mean, I was homeschooled, and then before that, the Waldorf school I went to, like, sort of didn't believe or didn't advocate for like forcing a child to learn how to read. So, like, they
Seems kind of
advocated for
important.
like I know they advocated for like you pre a certain age, like they advocated that you just kind of like let your child learn as they go. And I was someone that was like, I want to read this book, and so I kind of just like taught myself how to read at one point. Like I just like forced myself to learn how to read. I have no idea how this happened. I've been told this is what happened. So I think I always had like like an interest in reading and an interest in words. The systems thing is interesting though. I feel like when you work behind the scenes on anything like a podcast, like even like a PowerPoint deck, you start to realize like why is this like this? Like why is this so bad? Why is this organized so bad? And you're like, I can't even be efficient. So how can I make this better so that I'm more efficient? And I think if you have like a natural tendency towards that, then you're like, let me reorganize this whole Google Drive and like make it make sense to me so that it, is easier for other people. So I don't know. Why do you like systems and infrastructure?
I think so. I'm the oldest in my family, and I think that
Yeah.
with that there's a certain personality type that the oldest kid always
Yeah.
is. So
Hmm.
tie that in with I'm also a Leo, which if you believe in that or not, it just
I mean,
I
I'm a
don't know.
Virgo, so
It makes sense to me.
makes sense.
Um, so like one of the traits of being a Leo is kind of a leadership, which tends to
Yeah.
result in some organization stuff. But being the firstborn, I think resulted in just a lot of unintentionally. I think there's a lot of expectation when you're a firstborn, and so you kind of become
Yeah.
a systematized person. This isn't true for everybody. It just was true for me. Always very clean, always very neat, just like schoolwork done on
Yeah, you
time, that kind of
were.
thing. And so I think
Yeah.
that just played into, I mean, I remember being in college and when kids were late to school or you do a group project and there's that one kid who like, yeah, you go
Group
into the Google Drive
projects.
and you're like, what the hell is going on in here? Um,
Yeah.
I just have always been that person to fix it and make it like, and then
Yeah.
create some kind of
Same.
system of like, here's how we're going to do it. And explain it to everybody. And so that's funny enough. Well, yeah, I edit and I do all this stuff behind the scenes for podcasts. I think the biggest thing that I've done for a lot of people is just create that framework of like, this is what
Yeah.
your show is going to look like. It's going to have XYZ components. We lay it out for you. This is how we're going to record them. You know, boom, 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 boom. And then here's what happens. So once it's recorded, you know, or here's pre-production, here's, you know, actual production, and then here's post-production kind of a thing. And I don't know. I just like you said, I think it's one of those things that I didn't really realize until I started actually like doing stuff that I was like, oh, okay, this is what I think I'm supposed to do. And so found that kind of, I don't know. You find what you're good at, and then you're like, I think I'm just going to stick with this until it doesn't work anymore. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And ideally, if you've set it up right, it works forever. But
Exactly. Exactly. I
yeah,
will ask you this though, because I
interesting.
mean, you understand the freelance thing as well as I do, but like, have you had any of those moments of like, crap, I got to go get a real job at this point? Like, maybe money's not coming in, or you're just like, I'm living
Yeah.
in fantasy land. I shouldn't be making this kind of money. Like,
Yeah. I mean, I think every freelancer, and at least all of the ones I know, they've gone through that moment of like, why am I doing this? Like, what am I getting out of this? Why is it worth it? Like, am I even like, what's the point? And really,
yeah.
actually, though, what is the point, right? I mean, I've had this moment with school and homeschooling too of like, why am I bothered? Like, why would I do this? Like, why am I
Mhm.
homeschooled? Why am I in public school? Like, what was the point of all of this if I could have just learned it like on my own,
Yeah.
hypothetically, because there's no way I could have kept myself accountable in any way with stuff like that. But I mean, I think we all have that moment of like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. No, 100%. To the point where I basically had all of my clients dry up at one point, and I
Yeah,
just was like, oh, great, I'm shit out of luck right now. And I started going on job interviews, and I went and did a job interview for Enterprise Rent a Car, and I was just like, I just need a
yeah,
job. And I was like, and the reason I went to them was one, I was like, I could do this job, and two, they have a career path set out for you. They have a system in
right,
place, and I was like, I'm
exactly. Yeah,
attracted to that. You know, they have a system in place. You start here, and you're going to end up managing your own branch of the store or whatever. And I was like, okay, that's attractive. I did the interview, and the guy legitimately told me, he's like, one, you've got the job if you want it, but two, he's like, I don't think you should take this job because you are
yeah,
not going to be passionate about this. Like, you have a passion for this other thing to go pursue your own stuff, and you
yeah.
should just like
That's
lean
good
full into
that
that.
he said
And
that.
it's so weird because like it was one of those moments where it was an aha moment for me where I it's one thing to have like your wife, your mom, your dad tell you like, yeah, you could do this. You know, it's another
Yeah,
thing to have somebody who you have just
like a
met and
complete
you've known them for
stranger.
20 minutes be like, no, you're
Yeah,
really passionate about
like,
this.
why
Like
are
you
you
should.
here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. That was a legitimate his question. He's like, I don't understand why you're here. Like, just go get somebody else to fill the empty void. You know,
yeah,
um, so
yeah. That's the thing. I mean,
encouragement.
yeah, encouragement from strangers is a big, that outside perspective is so important. Especially when, especially when you're trying to do something that you like doing. Because most
Yeah,
people don't like their job and they're doing it all day. And it's crazy to think that, like, I mean, you could just do anything and make a lot of money. But
Oh, 100%. I mean,
I mean, just,
the way the world is set up
required.
now, yeah, exactly. Whatever you're passionate about, you chase the passion, and I mean, if you want to monetize it, you can monetize it. You know,
Yeah,
it's it's
hypothetically.
very yeah, hypothetically, but it takes the passion to actually make it happen.
Yeah,
That's that's the big thing is like I I only work with clients who, if they come to me and they're like, my goal, I want to start the show. It's going to replace my income. It's going to do all these things in 6 months. I'm like, cool. I think you're doing it for the wrong reason. They just want to do it so they can
yeah,
quit their 9 to 5. And I'm like, that's the wrong reason to want to do this. I think you should want to do what you start a podcast or YouTube channel or TikTok account or whatever for the sole reason of you have a passion to do this and you have a passion to
yeah,
communicate, whatever, and educate in whatever capacity uh, it is, entertain, whatever. Uh, I don't know. I think that's just like an important thing of like, if you're not passionate about it, why do it? It's like,
yeah. I agree. I mean, some people don't even know what they're passionate about, and that's where it gets tricky,
yeah.
I think.
And,
But
and that's the problem with, I think, with sometimes the way the system is set up. And I think what's cool about
yeah,
your story of education is like, you know, you you did school in a classroom, homeschooled, back to public school, to college. So like you experienced the gamut of different education styles, and some of them probably encouraged you to pursue passions, some of them maybe
yeah,
didn't as much,
that's true.
that kind of a thing. And so when you can be in those types of environments, like I had an education experience where I had parents who were very encouraging of like, what are you into? Let's pursue that. Let's look more into it. Let's go more in depth with it. Let's travel to this museum. Let's go invest in audio gear. Let's whatever it was, you know. It just was one of those things where it's like I had people back me up on my passions,
Right.
and then when I got in a setting where people maybe weren't backing me up on my passions, I was like, but my passions are the most important thing. So I should pursue them regardless
Yeah.
of, if it's going to be the job or not. It's important to have something like that. So,
Yeah, I think that's homeschooling is really good for that. Like if you have a child that is very adamant that they want to do something specific, like I think it's a great environment to encourage someone to do what they want to do and also just like be themselves or like a weirder version of themselves. But I mean, it's a great environment to be who you want to be.
yeah.
And I think there's just like a lot less pressure from everyone to tell you what to do, which is great.
Yeah. Is there
Yeah.
anything from your homeschool experience that you're like this was just not it. It was not good. It was god awful, and like it just could have been better. Is there anything like that that pops in your brain?
I mean, I'm sure there was a couple of years there where I was not in school, realistically speaking. You know, I was like at home, maybe learning a few things. Um, and I'm someone who likes a lot of organization and routine. So for me, that was really hard, even when I was like 12. But I think, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. You guys had like a nice homeschool group, but I think I did a lot of different classes. Like I take community college classes and homeschool classes and extracurriculars. And there was a time where I wasn't doing that, and that was really hard because it's easier to do a lot of things than to do nothing for me. And I was like, I don't even think I'm learning anything right now. So I had to like start, taking more classes because my parents are like, I don't think is she in school? Like, no, she's sitting at home like reading a book. Like,
Right.
so yeah.
Right.
I mean,
It
yeah,
is
I
kind
think
of
that's
easy
right.
to kind of fall off that train of like,
Yeah.
yeah, are we teaching anything? Is there, or is this kid just at
Yeah.
home all day long? Yeah, that is kind of a, yeah. I don't think people check themselves on that sometimes. It's like, you know,
I think it's funny because I think people who grew up in the public school system have a hard time when they go to college because they're like, I don't have busy work. I don't have like a whatever, like at 9 to 3 p.m., 5 p.m. school schedule. And they have a really hard time adjusting. And I think for me, it was actually the opposite, where I had come from so much like chaos that going into public school then felt like, not enough chaos. And it was like too much. And then going to like college after public school and homeschool was an interesting balance in between where it was like you have classes, they're not all day, you have time to do work, there's not a lot of busy work, and it was just like this great in between homeschooling and public school that I think a lot of people felt like they couldn't adapt very well. I don't know if that was like your experience when you went to school, since you were homeschooled for longer than I was, but
Man, that's an interesting take on that because
yeah,
I mean, I chose the college I chose for strategic reasons because it was a smaller school. I think it was about 1,000 students, maybe a little bit over, so smaller class
yeah,
sizes. So a lot of the classes were about the size of a Mrs. Yip writing class, for
yeah,
instance.
which
It
is
was
normal.
maybe a dozen kids,
Yeah,
so very normal. But the bigger the school you go to, the bigger the classroom, right? And so I had a couple
yeah,
classes that were like 50 kids, and that was like overwhelming for me.
it's crazy.
But I had never thought of it in the regards of like, yeah, to go from public school where it's like, yeah, busyness all day. It's very structured in that sense of like you're gonna be here from this time to this time. Because college is not that. You have a class at like 8 in the
Yeah,
morning,
it's
and then you have a
great.
huge gigantic
It's
break, and then your
great.
next class is at 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
Yeah,
right? And so there's these weird gaps of time sometimes that you just have to fill with something. And yeah, homeschooling totally prepared me for that because I was used to that. It's like, I mean, especially by the time I
yeah,
was graduating high school, it's like I worked a couple jobs. I taught guitar lessons, dance lessons during the summer. Like I did stuff and it would be at different times and weird times of the day. So yeah,
right.
your education just fit in where it needed to.
Yes,
Oh man,
that's
I
it.
had not even thought of that as like a example. That's a great example of, yeah, you
Yeah,
need that mix of chaos and structure.
structure.
Um, yeah, and I mean, some homeschool kids had a lot more structure than like.
Some had a ton. I was like, why don't you just go to school? This is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I I met a few kids who, yeah, they're. It's like, what are you talking about? And I think my mom tried to do that at first. She tried to do the like,
Yeah,
you're out of bed by 8 a.m. Like
it's crazy.
you're out of bed and like ready to go for school by 8 a.m. And then by the time we were finishing, it was like, I mean, if you get started by noon, that's a good sign, kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
that was me. I was like, I'm sleeping in. What, an alarm?
Yeah,
I was like, what? Excuse me?
yeah, exactly. It was like,
Yeah,
what's the point? Yeah.
no
Um,
point.
yeah, and I don't know. She learned to play to our strengths, I think, is
Yeah,
one of the
which you
things. And
should.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's an inter I'm still hung up on the college thing. But yeah, no, that's like a great example of that. Um, because yeah, it's a massive jump for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people are just like not
Huge.
prepared for it.
Yeah, I
Both
mean, kids
public
do
and
terribly. Yeah,
yeah, the first
it's
year of college.
crazy.
I mean, I always tell people, I'm like, the first year of if you can make it through the first year of college, you can do the rest of it. You
Yeah,
like it's
guaranteed.
easy after you do the first year. I mean, I wanted to give up so many times freshman year, was calling, begging, please let me come home. I don't ever want to come back to
Yeah,
this place. Like, I'm done. I'm just gonna like get a job, kind of a thing. And I'm glad I stuck it out because I mean, my dad was just kind of like, you got to do 1 year, and then we'll go from there,
yeah.
kind of a thing. And after 1 year, it was like, I
This
could
is
do
easy.
this. This is easy.
Yeah,
It had its
it's
moments, but
interesting.
it was like, oh, this is so much easier. I know what to expect. I know how to handle
Yeah,
myself, all that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
Scheduling, yeah, scheduling your own life is crazy when you've spent 16 years or 12
I
years,
think
I
that's
guess.
why I've been doing some work with a client and they talked to a lot of people who did sororities and fraternities. And I
God.
think that's a big part of why kids join those potentially is because
Yeah,
a lot of times with sororities and fraternities, they schedule out your entire day for you. And like you're going to be at this event, you're going to take these classes, you're doing this, that, the
it's
other,
crazy.
right? Which is very much, I don't want to say that's it kind of is a public school type thing where it's like, yeah, you're going to
Yeah,
be here, you're going to be there. Like we're telling you where you're going to be for the next however many hours of your day. And so
crazy.
maybe that's why people thrive in that because,
Yeah, and it's like a friend group that has the same mentality too. You're like, I have a
yeah,
already made friend group, which is crazy. Actually, yeah,
yeah.
that's interesting. I don't know if you did like a lot of clubs and stuff in college, but I think like I feel like my college experience was really reflective of like my homeschooling experience in the sense that I had a lot of different friends from different areas of like college, from clubs or from classes or from high school or from like an extracurricular or something like that. So I had a lot of different friend groups. But I think most people, if you're in like a frat or a sorority, you have that one friend group and you don't really you don't really leave it, which is scary to think. But
Yeah, I don't remember being in a ton of clubs. I mean, I did a bunch of stuff. I mean, my major was, because it was entertainment, we ran all the shows on campus, so that was
Yeah.
that chewed up a large chunk of our time. Um, and then, I mean, there's always opportunities for run this event, do that. I mean, we did like a
Yeah.
gospel festival, and we did, I mean, just like all kinds of little stuff too. We would help run events for the school when the board of directors would come into town or whatever. We
Yeah.
would be in charge of stuff like that. So, not so much a club, but I mean,
Same
we were
thing, different
busy. We were
friends.
just busy
Yeah.
doing a lot. Yeah, and then you're touching
Yeah.
base with a bunch of different friend groups, and working across the different majors and stuff to be like, okay, we need this or we need that room, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah,
Give me the
but
room.
yeah, exactly. Give
Yeah.
me the room. Yeah. Oh man, so many fights about that, but that's a story for another time. Annanlee, this has been so awesome. I appreciate you coming on so much because one, I mean, we haven't chatted in a while, so I'm thankful to catch up with you. And
Yeah.
um, I don't know, and it was cool to hear your homeschool journey because, like, yeah, I don't know, we knew each other, but I just didn't know that element, I think, of you. And I don't
Yeah.
know, I think I go into a lot of things. I think during homeschool years, I would go into a lot of things expecting like, oh, well, everyone's homeschool journey is kind of similar to mine, and it's like that's just really not the reality.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the point of the show, is like to talk to
Yeah.
people about, like, it's very different for anybody and everybody. But here we are. We survived. We made it out.
Barely with our lives.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Yeah.
aside from that, I don't know. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you're just like, oh shoot, we got to talk about this?
I mean, I don't think so, other than, your red pants, but I think Emily already really wanted to talk about
Yeah.
that too. So
Well, if you haven't listened to Emily's episode,
I'm about to.
I had red pants, yeah, in high school, and and in college. I'll find a picture of them at some point and post them, because they were god awful.
Did you wear them in college? I wore mine
Yes,
in
I
college, but it's
yes, I
different
did.
for a girl. Okay.
Yes, I did. I wore them to an event. I want to say I wore them to homecoming. I had a couple
Oh
wacky
my
outfits in
gosh.
college,
That's so
um,
funny.
that really were wild. But yeah, I don't know. I was, attention seeking.
Yeah. Oh, that's
It's
so
funny
funny.
that
Yeah.
it's funny that I say I'm a behind the scenes person, because no, I'm very clearly also an attention seeker type person. So
You can be both. It's fine.
yeah,
Now you're in front of the camera, so
exactly. Here we are. Yeah, seeking
different
all the
person.
attention. Different person. Well, Annalie, this has been awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming on, because I don't know, I just like hearing people's stories, and I appreciate you taking the time. And um, yeah, I don't know. Any last words for the people?
I mean, everyone should think about homeschooling their children because we turned out so fantastic. And I mean, we're not weird at all. We like being in front of the camera and behind the camera. We wear red pants. What else can I summarize? We write insane poems.
Yeah, apparently about each other.
Yeah,
Um,
of course.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. If nothing else sells you on homeschooling, this episode definitely should. So,
Yes,
yes. So once
absolutely.
again, thank you so much for coming on, and for those of you who are still listening, I appreciate you so much. If you would hit the subscribe, hit the follow, hit the like, hit the comment button, leave a 5-star review if you think that this is a 5-star worthy conversation. I think it was. And I want to hear from you guys. So, if you've got something you want to say to me, you can either hit me up on Instagram at the Ex-Homeschoolers Club, or you can email me at exhsclub@gmail.com, and it goes to me. So, yeah. Anyway, until next time, later.